Well, it's high time we got back to Blake 7, now that the crew has been assembled and ready for their first full group episode. Unfortunately for them, and for us, that episode is the web. It begins with a forest covered in something you very likely have been seeing since this is October. Fake spider webbing strands strung up everywhere. There's a lab in this haunted woods, presumably to scientifically measure the carbon impact of witches. Hey, black magic is something that the left and right can finally agree upon. The right hates it because black magic opposes traditional values, and the left hates it because it's cultural appropriation. Inside, we see two inert people while a voice repeats, "They must come to us." The source of that voice? Prepare yourself.
They must come. They must.
Speaking as a lifelong Doctor Who fan, this is bad even by my standards. On the Liberator, Blake's trying to get some sleep, but Jenna wakes him up because something inexplicable is happening, making them speed up, and it's happening inside the ship. It might have something to do with Callie installing something, or that Blake is strutting around with his shirt open. I can't imagine that's doing the ship any good. It's not helping me any. Zen says the auto systems will repair it before they hit a dangerous speed, but that this malfunction was deliberate. Probably Callie. She's acting weird, like her reaction to Villa just asking if she likes his new outfit. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. This is the 70s. Everything's hideous. She runs into Avon while he's running some tests to enhance his understanding of the systems, and he shows her the stuff that she's interested in before he heads to the flight deck to talk to Blake about this cock-up. Only the moment he's gone, she starts messing with those very components.
Forward detectors are now dysfunctional. Navigation computers have switched to theoretical projection.
That's not good. You really don't want your ship to try to use the Force. Avon quickly deduces that this is the work of Callie. Quick! The only way to save ourselves is to run like a wiener! Good work, men. That lame-ass running might just have saved our lives. But too late, Callie is already armed and takes them back to the flight deck. But Gan sneaks up behind her and disarms her before anyone gets hurt. Well, besides Villa, and that's just part of being Villa, really. But the tiny green man won't be stopped and forces Callie back up to fight.
Whoever you are, it's over!
Now stop before we start tearing clothes and pulling hair. Nobody wants to see that. Plus, there's that thing that Callie put in place before. It turns out it's a bomb, although that's appropriate for this episode, I suppose. Blake tells Zen to disarm it, but as Avon points out, the computer's logic is, the repair system can't repair things that aren't yet broken, so this is your problem, meat sack.
Be careful of that thing. If the light goes out, you've got about 3 seconds.
To get out of the blast range, not to stare at me like an imbecile. Seeing what he's dealing with, Avon tackles Blake to safety.
Major disruption of primary power channel.
Yeah, if only someone warned you ahead of time. Dumbass.
All drive units are dysfunctional.
Well, they'll fit right in with the group dynamic, won't they? Eventually, they sort things out well enough to determine that they're in an uncharted system, which means that they may be lost, but even if they weren't lost, they'd still be lost. Some days it's really hard being a revolutionary. They're going to need to figure it out before they crash into something, and the system still isn't repaired.
Gan, see if there's anything to do to help Avon.
Well, unless you can smash or eat it, I don't see what good that'll do. At least limited forward vision is available, but all it shows is this webbing.
That's what's pulling our speed down.
Increase power to compensate.
First you want to slow down, now you want to speed up. There's no pleasing you, Blake. Meanwhile, Avon is having trouble figuring out where precisely the malfunction is taking place, so he has an inspired idea. Bust the whole damn thing! His reasoning actually makes sense, though. Whatever's malfunctioning is in here. If the system has to repair all of it, it'll repair the malfunctioning thing as well. It's ingenious, although it only works because the tech is even more ingenious. And they could make a lot of money selling it.
I don't think Blake would agree to that.
There will come a time when he won't be making the decisions.
He's read the series episode guide. He knows what's coming. Callie has returned to her old self and wonders what happened. She doesn't even know why she has a burn on her hand. They figure they might use her to find whoever or whatever led them here, but that doesn't work. Instead, when Villa works up a course to move directly away from the planet, if there's one thing Villa is good at, it's knowing the best way to run away, Jenna is possessed by some alien force, and you could probably guess it's the ugly green guy. He warns that they will be forever trapped without his help, but they must help him in return. Maybe some protein powder, because this guy really needs to work on his muscle mass. Callie says that this guy might be part of a legend of her people, the Lost, those who were cast out. That's not very helpful, though, so she's sent back to the comm system to try to figure out a way to get out of this mess. That fails, as does trying to shoot their way out. The web grows back faster than they can keep shooting it without running out of power. So Blake's got no choice but to meet with his tininess and find out what his demands are. Here's the thing about Blake 7. Like Doctor Who, sometimes the effects are pretty damn cheap. And I, for the most part, accept that as inevitability. But these guys? Wow. They are impressive in their ability to fail. And what's funny about this is that it's not like this is a bottle show. They weren't saving money doing this episode. This was made knowing what they would need to do. Make lots and lots of silly costumes. Never mind the hilariously bad little green man. Like with the original Star Trek or Doctor Who, I'm not holding this against them. But that doesn't mean that it stops being silly. They're like Ewoks after a nuclear exchange hit their moon. And Blake's about to teleport down into that. Callie volunteers to come because she started talking about a legend before, and the rule of fiction says that she has to be involved so she can tell the rest of the legend to show how it precisely fits their situation. But Blake trumps that with the rule of common sense. If that thing could control them far away, it can sure as hell control her when she's nearby. It'd be better to keep her on the ship where, if that happens again, she can't compromise the mission. Whatever the mission turns out to be. So he heads down and runs afoul of the little Ewok lepers. Oh no, it got jelly on him, and there's not a wet wipe within 1,000 miles. Blake ignores it and heads for the complex, but a creature runs up to him.
Keep back.
Oh, that voice helps so much, doesn't it? So what happened? Someone dropped a house on the Wicked Witch of the East? Would explain the scientific outpost to study the witch in her natural habitat. This guy in the Reynolds Wrap costume kills it with a lethal curtain rod, which Blake doesn't approve of despite the attack. You can't kill all just because one is an asshole to you. You're not Andrew Jackson. The wound is treated by placing what looks like a beef sirloin in a TV dinner on the wound, which heals it completely in seconds, allowing them to explain that the Decimers, as the Ewok lepers are called, want to destroy them, especially now that they know the foil-clad people are vulnerable. The only way to stop them is to restore their power. That's why the Liberator was brought here. They didn't think Blake and his crew would come unless forced. The others certainly wouldn't have wanted to come. It's all Blake can do to get them to help in his fight against the Federation. Wandering band of do-gooders to whatever freaks are around here is going to be a tough sell. The fungus wasn't a deliberate trap, though. It's something they created, but it seems to have gotten out of control and is big enough to catch ships now. So that's a mark against the cause of mad science. But they've made a fungicide which can be fired by a beam here, which they'll use to free Blake's ship if he helps them. That's not an ultimatum. What they need are power cells. So if he provides them with power, they can fire their beam and free the Liberator. And they better be quick about it now, because the Decimers are launching an attack at that very moment. True story. I'm watching this, and my son stops what he's doing and slips into the room with a look on his face that just said it all. He has heard me watching some weird stuff for this show over the last decade, and never before has he shown up with a WTF look on his face. Anyway, Blake calls up the ship to get some power cells ready, and just as Zen finishes fixing the damage so they can use their sensors again. And yeah, there are some pursuit ships, so Liberator is in real trouble. There aren't many options other than hope this plan works. Meanwhile, the Decimers have decided to graduate to tool use. With real tools, I'm not sure, but it looks like they're getting ready to lay a new highway. And it sounds like dog toys having an orgy. I can't believe someone heard this and said, "Perfect, no need for a second run at it, this is what we need." Or even worse, this is the second run and they said, "We're not going to get any better than this." Anyway, the reason for this expedition was not actually to study witches, it was to search for immortality, and also to see about making a new species to function as servants. That last one has been outlawed, which is why they came to this backwater planet for the experiments. And you know something is bad when even an evil police state says, "Dude, too far." Well, their creations, the Decimers, developed a mutant strain that made them emotional, and therefore aggressive. The only choice, therefore, is to come to an understanding with them and recognize... I'm sorry. I thought I could keep a straight face, but I can't. Now, the solution is to kill every last one of them. We all know it's not real mad science unless you can check off the little box that said committed genocide. But this isn't the first such experiment. The Wonder Twins here are also constructs, controlled by the green guy's mental powers. And speak of the devil, or at least the devil spawn monster, he wants to see Blake directly now.
My name is Simon. That is the name by which this body was once known.
Now it's called the chick repellent. Last girl I tried to pick up said I looked like a child made a snowman out of elephant dung.
I am a corporate identity.
Well, if you wanted an avatar for hating on Citizens United, I'd have to say this corporate identity would be a good choice. This put Blake in a bit of a bind. Side with the Ewok monsters and have the pursuit ships turn them over and the Liberator to the evil Federation. Or side with the Freak and be an accomplice to Genocide. He says no, give me a third option, where you don't exterminate these creatures. Then he finds out that Avon is already beamed down and might get ambushed and is ready to head out and shoot any of the little bastards that might hurt his friend. The guy saved him from his deer-in-the-headlights stupidity earlier. It's accurate even if Avon probably winces at the thought of him being a friend. He fills Avon in, who says if it's down to them or the creatures dying, well, goodbye Ewok lepers. Blake wants to negotiate instead, hide the power cells and say that if they destroy the radiation equipment, they can have the power cells. But the foil-wrapped puppets have a different idea. Give us the power cells, or we'll kill you. Blake gives in, but the bad guys are suddenly hit by a stupid beam or something, because for no other reason than we're running out of episode, the Decimers get inside. Do they tunnel their way inside? Come in through an air shaft? Breach the walls? No. From all appearances, and even from one person I saw who was defending this episode, the Decimers get in because the fucking door is just left open. Even if you assume the best case, if they were completely drained of power and could no longer close the door, which can't be true anyway, but let's accept that excuse, there's no reason one of them couldn't have just stood outside the door and watched. Remember, this is Terry Nation, creator of the Daleks, saying, fuck it, they walk through the open door. So the army of guinea pig monsters rushes in and begins attacking their incredibly stupid overlords, allowing Blake to fire off the fungicide and then teleport away to safety. The end. The WED gets a stamp of watchable for the kitsch, leaving aside the laughable effects, and I really mean that. I'm not counting that against the story. It's nevertheless incredibly bland. A few nice character moments help an otherwise overlong episode pass eventually, but after a while the story just gets tedious. The so bad it's funny effects and costumes help the episode even if they don't help the story over much. This was a 30-minute episode padded out to 50, and it shows with redundancies and shots going on entirely too long. The Decimers' ransacking of the lab goes on forever and is only tolerable because their chipmunks screeching as they destroy things is somewhat amusing. Whatever atmosphere it attempts to convey is destroyed by sheer tedium. By now the fact that Terry Nation has spread himself too thin is quite clear, and even Chris B's script doctoring can't fix that. Fortunately, things take a turn for the better in our next episode, Seek, Locate, Destroy.
All hail the Overlord! All hail the Overlord!